Dave Klemic. So he's a former NFL wide receiver, mainland regional high school graduate, spent time with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's also the owner of Klemic Performance Method, and he joins me right now. Dave, my friend, welcome in. How you doing, brother?
Josh, I'm caffeinated, I'm activated, I'm ready to go. As usual.
Can you share some of that caffeine? I think I might need some, honestly.
Oh, man. Around this time of day, I've been going to this place called Moose, and it's owned by a former guy I played in the NFL. Well, it's Mike Bird, but the Bird family, Corey Bird from Indianapolis, called his brother. And, man, they make some good coffee over there, man. It's challenging my Starbucks addiction.
Only Dave Klemic could randomly plug a coffee place in the middle of a segment supposed to be about football. Let's get to the football, my friend. So one of the reasons why I wanted you to jump on is because you know what it's like being an NFL player, having to go into training camp with a new playbook you have to learn. Jalen Hurts said last month that it's basically learning a 95% new playbook. So talk to the audience what it means for an NFL player. Yeah, you went through the OTAs, you went through minicamp, but now you're going to training camp, and you got this brand new playbook, this brand new offense in the system that you're having to learn and pick up and get efficient at.
Yeah, I mean, for the best way I can correlate it to, like, some people can understand, is like you got to learn a new language. So, like, if you're trying to learn, I don't know, Spanish one year, and then the next year you have to learn Japanese or whatever, then you're going to have to, like, learn the language. And it's not just, like, the language that you read out of a book. Dynamic language. It's like you got to learn this on the move. Like, you have to be activated while you're moving and not just looking and reading it out of a book. These plays are live. You're moving parts very fast with very, very athletic people moving around against you or with you. You know, it's people don't give credit enough for the intelligence of an NFL quarterback. Maybe the quarterbacks, but the rest of the players to pick that up. And a lot of times there's so many trades every single year that you have to change the language because someone could go over and coaching change could switch and like, yo, I got all their language at that place. You know, you can read it. There's the cues to read it. So they have to literally change the language every year that people can't cue in on that. It's wild. There's so much studying that goes on. People don't understand. I was most impressed at the NFL level with how players could pick that up. And they would hire tutors, man. It's just like school. You hire your coach or like you'd hire a quality control guy to come to your house and help you understand the plays. You know what I mean? He walked around in your backyard with you if you had to. Unbelievable. You know, it's a lot of studying. But that's kind of what it's like, if that makes sense.
It does. So with that being said, we have heard different players describe the Kellen Moore offense. Lane Johnson has said it's more up-tempo and efficient. Jason Kelce says it's more creative than what they had last year. Jalen Hurts has said it's more dynamic. Saquon Barkley says one of the reasons why he came to Philadelphia is because the Eagles view him as an offensive weapon and not as just a running back. So when you hear all those players describing it that way, what does that say to Dave Klemic?
I like when the players say when they're bought in on something, they're excited. They feel like they're part of it. They feel like they're part of the decision making. You know what I mean? If they feel they're involved and they can help you, like they'll get behind it emotionally. That is a huge help because I've played with some guys that weren't behind you emotionally. They didn't believe in your system, and it's a cancer on the team. They're just like, see, I told you that wasn't going to work. See, I told you we should have run it. You know what I mean? And you're going to say, like, if people are bought in together like that, then, you know, there's some unity in that. And there's not that cancer feeling on the team where you're like, what a bummer. Like, even if it goes well, somebody else is throwing their hands up. But I love to hear them in unity. You know, you have your backs, your receivers, your quarterback, and your line are all excited about new dynamic offense. You know, that means they trust you a little bit too. If you're trying to baby your young quarterback who's like a young stud quarterback and you're you're trying to put the handcuffs on him so it's easy for him to make decisions, and you don't want to complicate things. They're insulted by that. But like, no, challenge me, man. I want to be challenged. You know what I mean? I'll make my mistakes, but like, you know what I mean? I want to be challenged, and they don't want to be. You know, they don't want. I know for certain. I don't like that. I didn't like that. You're like, yo, you're only going to give me 3 routes to run. I hate that. Let me run some of those complicated routes. You know what I mean? And that's just the nature of it. And you know, when you're having these guys are highly intelligent. You know, we're talking about, you know, especially these quarterbacks, man, super intelligent. You could read their Wonderlic scores and see they're all very, very intelligent people. But that you cannot put intelligence on a paper test to what happens on the field with dynamics and emotions. And it's now you're talking about geniuses, these quarterbacks in the NFL. That's who I think they are.
Talking with former NFL wide receiver and Mainland Regional High School graduate Dave Klemic here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. You just mentioned about how the receivers, they want to be challenged. They want to run more than just a couple routes. And it brings me back to how many times the Eagles had predetermined throws built into the playbook last year. You know, with Shane Steichen in 2022, Hurts had multiple options on different route trees, right? So the receiver and the quarterback had more creativity, more flexibility, as you talked about. You're not asking me to run just 1 or 2 routes, right? Or 3 routes in that case. So if you go from an offense that had so many predetermined throws last year to an offense that has way more creativity and is more dynamic this year, then does that say to you, Dave, that the Eagles offense is going to be, you know, like how much better does that make the offense?
Well, I've been very public about my criticism on the Eagles offense, which was that we probably had the most talented, you know, offensive weapons in the league. But we had the least pre-snap motion. And I always say you play offense offensively. You don't play offense defensively, which is what we do, which is when you are running these run RPOs nonstop, which we read what the defense is giving us, and then we make a decision on what we're doing. Well, that affects your ability to process thoughts and then go apply that to the field aggressively. You're always thinking about what the defense is doing. You're not being decisive. You don't make you don't make decisions at full speed. So like when you do pre-snap motion, it actually puts the defense on like its heels, right? Now you're playing around. Yo, I know you're moving and you're putting people in motion and shifting and this and that may change. Like it's your thoughts are now, I've heard the other side of that argument too, by the way. But when you're putting yourself in motion and making the shifts, the defense is always on. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Oh, shoot, there we go. And it is your decision to make the move, not theirs. You're not basing your offense off of a defense. That's silly. That's not decisive. That's not football. It's not aggressive. So when you do, if you looked at the 3 top offenses, it was Kansas City, Miami, San Francisco. All 3 of them had the most pre-snap motion and shift. Right? So it's just going. There's a correlation there, and it's not always all statistical. That makes sense. That sure does. That's 3 for 3. 3 top offenses has the most pre-snap motion. You got to look into that. And your offense with the most offensive weapons is one of the, I don't know, they're one of the worst, but we're not nearly as productive as we could have been had we used a lot of that pre-snap motion. And the creativity a lot of times has to do with using your players in creative ways. And that means pre-snap motion. You know what I mean? Zigzag motion, which is like in and out. You have, you're doing sweeps and reverses and a lot more jet sweeps and stuff like that. Yeah, we did none of that. It was boring. It was boring to watch. And and then it gets predictable. Once you're predictable, then it's, the defense plays games with you. Come on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, that was my long story of like, I've been very public about this, screaming and ranting. What was the Eagles' best play last year? Tush push. Everybody knew it was coming. We are going to go, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it so well, get out of our way. And so what do? We were decisive. We were offensive. We were aggressive. when you run those RPOs, it's like 90% of your offense, which I think it was like 70% of the offense. You're worried so much about what they're doing, you're not making aggressive decisions. So I was highly annoyed by that.
Yeah, and it's funny because Kellen Moore is well known for having a pre-snap motion offense. He comes from that kind of like, half air raid, half greatest show on turf type of mentality. So we know he's going to run the pre-snap motion. With all that being said, for you, Dave Klemic, what is a realistic expectation for Saquon Barkley in the Eagles offense?
Well, if you know, he's a Penn State guy. My mom went to Penn State. My father-in-law went to Penn State. My mom went to Penn State. Austin Johnson, one of my favorite athletes of all time, went to Penn State. We're Penn Staters. But and I think he's probably one of the most dynamic backs we've seen since, I'm going to say, you could argue with me, but I could say Barry Sanders. And he's got that type of ability. And he just, we're in an offense now that doesn't use the running back as much. So I think if he can catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit more, and he's a threat right there, he's going to be dangerous. I mean, him added to this offense also takes some pressure off of Jalen Hurts' legs. I think this is going to be fun to watch Saquon Barkley play in the offense with this type of talent. It's going to be fun to watch this year. I can't wait to turn that TV on.
All right, before I let you go, because we have a limited amount of time here, tell us about the event you got coming up next week with Tim Watson.
All right, so Tim Watson, who played for the Seattle Seahawks, by the way, a mainland kid. Neat story. Tim was drafted 10 picks before Tom Brady in the 6th round in 2000. Next year, I went to the Kansas City Chiefs. The next year, John Stone went to the Indianapolis Colts. And so 3 of us we were all NFL players at the same time for the same high school football team. But so that's Tim. Tim has a huge whole background in coaching at Cedar Creek, multiple state championships at Cedar Creek, now at Mainland. And what he's done, and I've known this for a very long time, almost 20 years, that he's been into mental preparation training. And he's not like a licensed sports psychologist. So he uses what we always say is what's deeper than physical preparation, and it's mental preparation. Everybody, what's deeper than that? Spiritual preparation. Well, Tim does kind of both, and the clinic is about how to harness that and let that architect your pre-practice, or pre-game, and how you architect your confidence and like your preparation. So it's amazing that we kind of don't think about that. And if you ask anybody, they'll be like, how much of the game is mental? And you're like, oh, it's like 90%. How much are you preparing mentally? You're like, none, like 0. Like, how much are you preparing physically? Like 100%. Like, yes. And then he architects this plan for you, all these cues and all these like this, or it's like the movie Inception. Like he's an architect of your thoughts and how you prepare things. And we've already used it at Klemic Performance Method a little bit, and it's phenomenal what he can accomplish inside of you, and how much you start to organize your own athletic plans and how you prepare for your games. Unbelievable. It's invaluable. The cost is $79 for 3 lessons. And those are the 23rd, the 25th, and I think the 29th. It's on our website, www.klemicperformancemethod.com. And you can sign up right on there. We got a load of people. Bo Melton is going to speak there. Max Melton is going to speak there, the 2nd-round draft pick, and they're doing videos for us because they will be in training camp. But they are some of Tim's former players. Excited to do it. It's unbelievable information. I'd love to have you guys, and Tim is just an absolute genius. You guys, I can't wait for you to hear him talk.
Again, KlemicPerformanceMethod.com to get more information. We've been joined today by Dave Klemic, the owner of Klemic's Performance Method, former NFL wide receiver, Mainland Regional High School graduate,